Shane, here is your video on how to make a roast in your Instant Pot. Now, the first thing you want to do is you need to get a roast. You can get a beef roast or you can get a pork roast. Doesn't matter. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that the beef roast is going to be about 15 minutes a pound, and the pork roast will be a little bit longer, about 20 minutes a pound. Don't get a really good cut of meat. Get a pot roast cut and let your Instant Pot do the work. It'll make it delicious. And I'm going to show you how to do it with my glass of wine. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to need to saute or brown your roast. So what you need to do is turn your Instant Pot on to saute, and put a tablespoon or two of oil in there. And just let it heat up. Okay, so once your Instant Pot has heated up and it's hot enough to sear your roast, you can go ahead and put your roast in. You're going to want to brown it probably about 4 minutes on every side that you want browned. Now, you can't put too big of a roast in here because your Instant Pot is probably only 6 quarts. So I would guess the biggest roast you could comfortably fit in there would be about 5 pounds. Mine's only 2, so it's a pretty small roast, so it's going to be easy for me to brown mine in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my roast in here for about 4 minutes aside and just quickly brown it. Okay, once your roast has browned up a little bit in your Instant Pot in your saute mode, you can go ahead and shut that off and take your roast out of the Instant Pot. Now you can see that it's browned up a little bit, and this is going to add a whole lot of flavor to your roast once it's cooked. To do a pot roast, you're going to need to add at least 2 cups of liquid to the bottom of your Instant Pot. So for a pot roast, you can use whatever liquid you want. You could use water if you wanted to. You could put a little bit of wine in there if you wanted to. What I typically use is some sort of stock. So you could use chicken stock, beef stock, you could use bouillon cubes, whatever. In this case, I'm going to use just some beef bouillon. So 2 cups goes in the bottom of your Instant Pot. And then you're going to want to season your pot roast. So usually what I use, so here are some things that you could season your pot roast with. There's some gravy mix, there's ranch dry mix, or you could get Italian dry mix, and then what I always use is the onion soup mix. So just mix a couple packages up, and what you're going to do is you're just going to coat your roast with your dry mix and put it in the Instant Pot. Okay, now to the 2 cups of liquid that we've put in here before, we're going to drop in our pot roast, which is now covered in the flavoring packets. And just use the rest of this. And if you'd like, you can put some vegetables around the roast. I typically just use onion. You can put potato or carrots around there. Keep in mind, if you have a roast that's a little bit on the larger side, any vegetables you're going to put around here are going to get pretty soft and mushy from the pressure cooking. Once everything is in your Instant Pot, you got your veggies and your roast and your seasonings in there, and you're ready to cook it. Put your lid on. And recall that I told you that beef is 15 minutes a pound and pork is 20, so we have beef. So we're going to do pressure cook on high. And since it's a 2-pound roast, we're going to go with 30 minutes in total. And once that's set, it will start automatically. Now the only other thing we need to do is make sure this thing is set to sealing, not venting. This is venting. Make sure it's set to sealing. And then you're fine. And what's going to happen is your Instant Pot is going to pressurize first. You'll know it's fully pressurized once this little metal pin inside here pops up. Once it does, then your 15-minute per pound timer will start, and it will take this 2-pound roast a total of 30 minutes to cook. Okay, so the little metal pin has come up after a little bit of steaming, and it has sealed, and this is still unsealed, not on venting, which means that the Instant Pot is coming up to pressure now, and pretty soon it will switch from on to say 30 minutes, which is what we set it for originally, 15 minutes per pound for a 2-pound beef roast. That timer will come on pretty quick, and once it does, in 30 minutes we will have a cooked pot roast. Okay, so we've got 1 minute left on the Instant Pot until the roast is done and the cycle is complete. You can see that the metal pin is still up on top, so that shows that the pot is still pressurized. This switch is still set to sealing and not venting. And once the timer gets to 0, you have 2 choices. So there, it's at 0 now. So now you have 2 choices. You can either let the pot sit and wait for this pressure pin to go down on its own, or you can do what's called a quick release and depressurize it right away. And that's what I'm going to do. So the best way to do it, because the quick release will release a lot of steam and pressure, it's probably a good idea to cover it with a dishcloth or a tea towel or something. And then this switch here that was previously on sealing and not venting, what we're going to do is we're just going to push it towards venting and have it vent all of the steam out of the Instant Pot. The dishcloth will just help it not spray all over the place. And if it gets a little hot, you can always use a spoon for it as well. Now when you're venting it, what you need to wait for is you need to wait for that pin to drop to show that the pressure has dropped in the pot. There you go. So now that the pot is depressurized, what you can do is go ahead and open it up safely. And there is the most delicious pot roast you are going to eat. So we're going to pick it out of here. And we're just going to let it roast, or let it rest for a few minutes. Now what you can do with this is you can make a gravy out of it. One of the packets that I've added before was a gravy packet, which will work great. If you didn't use a gravy packet before, what you can do is put a little bit of cornstarch in there. And what I would suggest you do if you want some gravy is put this back on saute. Well, we gotta cancel that first. I'll put this on saute. And just reduce the liquid in here, cook it down until it gets to a gravy-like consistency. And if you need to, add in some flour or some cornstarch. And once you're done that, cut up your tasty roast and serve it. Hope this helps, Shane.